Hello everyone, welcome back to our discussion on population genetics and evolution. We are continuing our discussion with genetic drift, or the Sewall Wright effect. So, genetic drift is a mechanism of evolution in which the allelic frequency of a population is changing over time, over generation, and that is usually at random or due to chance. So you can define genetic drift simply as a change in the gene frequency or allele frequency of a population that occurs at random or that is due to random events. Random events in the sense that it is not due to, or it might be some natural processes, a natural calamity, etc., that can result in the change in the gene frequency. So anything which is occurring at or anything that is upsetting the gene frequency, which is occurring at random in the sense that the individuals that is being affected by genetic drift will be selected at random. There will not be a selection criteria. For example, if you're having a group of individuals or a population where you have the individuals which are having a height of 6 feet, and the individuals which are having a height of 5 feet. Example, you are having a population with 70 individuals who are having 6 feet height and 30 individuals who are having 5 feet height. So what happens is that because of a random event, okay, and because of that random event, there is no selection pressure. Selection pressure in the sense that I'm not selecting only the individuals with height. I'm not selecting the individuals with which are having 5 feet, etc. I just close my eyes and pick up five individuals from them. Okay, when I pick up such five individuals from that group, it will be random. Okay, in random in the sense what I pick up from that population will be a mixture of that particular group. It might contain one individual with 6 feet height and and the other four individuals which are 5 feet, or vice versa, or three individuals which are 6 feet, two individuals. So anything can happen. So any combination can result in a selection, or if you take a sample from that group at random, like closing our eyes and picking up five from that group, any combination can happen. And that combination is random. Any combination can come, and that is what is called as a random event in this particular case. So, whatever uh, whatever phenomena that is upsetting the gene frequency and that is occurring at random is or due to chance is called as a genetic drift. So genetic drift occurs in every population. In nature, every population is subjected to a genetic drift, and without the delimitation of size, whether it be a small population, whether it be a large population, whatever it is, it will be subjected to genetic drift. But the effects are usually stronger in a small population. We'll discuss why the effect of genetic drift, etc., is severe in small population rather than a large population in the coming session. So genetic drift may also result in the loss of some alleles, which might be beneficial, and the fixation of some other, and also which rising of some of the allelic frequency to 100%. So depending upon the type of genetic drift or the random event, these possibilities can happen. Either some alleles will be lost from the population, some of the alleles will be fixed in a population. In some other case, 100 percentage of one allele can happen. For example, we will take the case with individuals which are 6 feet and 5 feet in the population. So in this particular case, a genetic drift is happening. Okay, a genetic drift in the sense that there is going to be a change in allelic frequency. So we said that because of this, there may be loss of some alleles. Okay, loss of some alleles in the sense that in that particular population, a disease or a particular uh, disease happens or a disease outbreak occurs, and that disease is affecting only those individuals with 5 feet in height. 6 feet individuals are exempted from that disease. They are not affected. They are not affected by the disease. So what will happen in that population? So that this is a genetic drift that is happening. So here, what happens is that in our population we had 70 percentage with the 6 feet height and 30 percentage with 5 feet height. So when a disease outbreak occurs, that disease is wiping out the individuals which are having 5 feet, because that will cause the death of those individuals which are having 5 feet in height. So what change has happened to that particular population? So in our example population, what happened was that the parent population had 70 percentage of 6 feet and 30 percentage of 5 feet, and after that particular calamity means that particular disease, there is no individuals with 5 feet. As a result, what happened is now the population is 100 percentage with 6 feet. So what will happen? The coming generations from that particular population will definitely be 6 feet, because there is no individuals with other height in that particular population. So that is what is described here, that as a result of genetic drift, there might be a loss of some alleles. That is what in the example we said. A disease is causing wiping out that 5 feet. So that 5 feet in that example is lost. That was an allele, or that was a character that is lost, and it can result in fixation or a rise of 100 percentage frequency. That also we came across in the same example. In the parent population, 6 feet individuals was 70 percentage. After genetic drift, or after that calamity, or after that particular disease, what happened was that there was a fixation in that population. The population is now fixed to 6 feet, and there is a rise of 100 percentage of frequency of other alleles. Okay, so this can also occur during the, or because of this genetic drift. And genetic drift can have major effect when a population is having very small size, or a small sized population. And this particular genetic drift can have two possibilities, or we are going to discuss two different types of genetic drift. One is the one type of genetic drift is called as founder effect, and the other one is called as the bottleneck. So these are the two types of genetic drift that we are going to discuss under this particular portion. So first we will see the what or what is actually the phenomenon which is called as genetic drift, and why it is affecting a small population in a severe, or the severity of genetic drift in a small population is very large when you compare it with the smaller population. So we'll see this video and come back.
In this tutorial, we will discuss the concept genetic drift is Genetic drift is one of several mechanisms by which evolution can occur in populations. Genetic drift occurs when random factors impact the frequency of alleles
Genetic
in
drift
subsequent
occurs
generations
when
of a
random
population.
factors impact the frequency of alleles in subsequent generation of a population.
Genetic drift is random, and it happens in
So
every
as we said,
population
it
due to
is
chance.
random and
Because of
happens in
this,
every
smaller
population due
populations
to
are more
chance.
susceptible to the effects
Because
of
of this,
genetic drift.
smaller populations are susceptible to
For
the effect
example,
of
in one
genetic
population of
drift. So we are
beetles,
going to
2
take
are
the
red and
example.
1 is green
So
for a
in
total
this particular
population of 3
example
beetles.
of beetles, you can see that this is a very small population. The population is size is 3. This is a very small population, and the population size of the beetle, or the population size is only 3. This is a very small population, and we are going to see how this genetic drift is affecting a small population in a severe, or the severity of genetic drift in a small population is very large when you compare it with a larger population. So this is a population with 3 beetles, where 2 beetles are red in color and the other one is green in color.
This generation mates, and their offspring have a
And because
50-50
of
chance of being
genetic
red or
drift
green.
in natural
By
calamity,
chance, they
or
have 3
because of the
offspring, and
rise of
all were red.
predator, what can
Once the
happen is
original
that,
generation dies,
uh,
the entire population is now
okay,
red.
so what happens here is, in this particular population of the original population, which was size of 3, what happened there was, the older population, or the older ones, you had 2 red beetles and 1 green beetle, and because of the smaller number, or of this green one, in that particular population, in the very next generation, you had only 3 red individuals. And because of old age, you can consider that as also a genetic drift. Because of old age, or because of a particular calamity, all the older individuals in that particular population was eliminated from that population. As a result, the 2 larger red beetles and the 1 larger green beetle is now eliminated from that population. So now what happened to that particular population? Now this particular population, the size is 3 itself, so it can be 3 or more, but you can see that this particular population is now having beetles with only red color. That means one allele is completely eliminated from this particular population. So this is why we say that the effect of genetic drift in a smaller population will be much severe, because the elimination of one individual from a population might result in the elimination of that allele completely from that particular population. The same, we'll take the example with a larger population. So here you can see that the new
In another
population is
population of
100%
beetles,
red.
10 are red
So
and
here you
5 are
can see
green
this
for a
is a
total
very larger
population of 15
population,
beetles.
and
This generation
you can
mates, and
see
their offspring also has
the
a
number
50-50
of
chance
green
of
and
being
white
red
in a
or green.
larger population. It
By
will be more
chance,
or less
they
the
have
same,
9 red and
and
6
now
green
they are
offspring.
giving rise to the young ones.
Once the
As a
original
result, the
generation
number of
dies,
green is
the
more. You
population
can
is now
also expect
60%
green
red
individuals
and
to happen,
40% green.
and the same thing, they are all the adults were gone. And now you can see that even though a
As you can
natural
see,
calamity
the
or a
first
genetic
population
drift
of 3
happened,
beetles was more affected by genetic drift in that it resulted in a complete loss of the
what
green
happened was
genotype
that
after
in
just
this
one
particular
generation.
case,
Affected by
even though
genetic
a
drift in that it
genetic drift
resulted.
occurred
As you
in
can
this
see,
particular
the first
group,
population
the green ones are still in the group. There is 60 percentage red and 40 percentage green is available. That means in a larger population, even though drift occurs, even though there will be a change in gene frequency, you can expect a change in gene or an allelic frequency, but the severity will be very less. Definitely, there is a change in allelic frequency, means individuals are affected in that population, but there is no loss of that particular allele, because loss of an allele in a population, from a population, means it is a permanent loss of that particular allele. You cannot see that particular allele in the population in the coming generation. It is lost forever. But in such cases, or in these cases of a larger population, the alleles, even though there is a change in frequency, the alleles are retained in the population, and in the coming generations, you can expect that both the alleles will be present, that can be represented in another form, etc. So this is what happens.
As
So
you can
that's
see,
why we
the
say
first
that the
population
effect
of
of
three
genetic
beetles was
drift
more
is
affected by
more
genetic
severe
drift
in
in
a
that it
smaller
resulted in a
population when you
complete loss of
compare
the
it with
green
a
genotype after
larger
just one
population.
generation.
So in a smaller
Because of the small
population resulted
population,
in a
there was a
major
higher
change to the
statistical chance that
population
this could occur.
because there was no
The
green
larger
beetles in the
population of
smaller
30 beetles
population
was
again.
less affected
But when you come
because
to
the
a
chance of
larger
all 30
population, that
offspring being of
resulted
one
in a
color was
minimal
very
change. There is a
statistically
change in
improbable.
allelic frequency, uh,
Understanding genetic drift is important in order to
but the
understand one way that
allele is
species have
not
evolved
lost.
over time.
So genetic drift helps us to identify or helps us to know, understand how the species have evolved over time. So that is why we study the different aspects of genetics, this particular genetic drift, etc. When you study a population. Okay, so this is with genetic drift, or otherwise called as Sewall Wright effect. So genetic drift is nothing but it is the change of gene frequencies that is happening in a population over a period of time, and this is due to a random event, or this occurs by chance. Change in frequency due to chance is called as genetic drift, and we are going to discuss about two different types of genetic drift, which is a bottleneck effect and a founder bottleneck and a founder effect. So these are the two, bottleneck and founder effect. Okay, so we'll discuss both in detail. So the first one is bottleneck, and the other one is the founder effect. So both this causes something which is called as a genetic drift, or these are considered can be considered as two different types of genetic drifts. So if you take both this bottleneck, so this is bottleneck. So usually bottleneck occurs when there is a calamity in a population, or this is a type of genetic drift. So genetic drift means there is a change in allelic frequency or gene frequency, and the change in allelic frequency which is due to a calamity, a natural disaster, a disease, etc., that is happening in a population. You call that as a bottleneck. Okay, so if genetic drift is due to a natural calamity, a disease, etc. So because of natural causes. Okay, so that does not have any effect on that particular population, or that does not have any uh, or that is not influenced by the population alone or population density, etc. It is completely due to natural causes. So if genetic drift is due to natural causes like a calamity, it can be a flood, it can be heavy rainfall, it can be drought, whatever extreme environments that occur, it can be that it can be calamities, and it can also be diseases or pandemics. So whatever it is, if a genetic drift is due to these natural factors, such a type of genetic drift is called as bottleneck. So why this is called as bottleneck? Okay, so here this is called as a bottleneck because you consider a population, okay, before the bottleneck in this particular bottle. So this the entire population was in a bottle, and you can see that in this bottle there are different type of beads in this. Consider them as individuals. You can see orange ones, you can see green ones, you can see red ones. So there are different types of individuals in that particular population with different morphology. You can take beetles with different color in that particular population. And what happens is a natural calamity occurs. Okay, a flood or a drought, something or whatever you can say that uh, a flooding event or a disease, etc. happens. Because of that disease, most of the individuals inside the bottle is affected. Only some individuals, okay, The some individuals, if you take these individuals, they might escape that disease, might be because of their immunity. They are having a slightly higher immunity than the other one, or they might not be exposed to that particular disease in that particular extreme. They might have survived, or they might have escaped from the disease. So this is that particular population which just escaped from that particular disease. If you take disease as the cause of genetic drift, so only what happens is that uh, all the other individuals inside the bottle, they are affected. Only some, that means only a small group of individuals survives that particular natural calamity. And because of that, you can see that there is a change in genetic or a gene frequency of this particular group. If you observe this bottle, you can see that there were individuals with this red phenotype. And because of this bottlenecking, you can see that there will be a change in allele frequency, in the sense that in this particular bottle, you can see that more oranges and very few red, and uh, uh, very few green, and very few red is present. Because the number of red was very few, you can see that they are not represented in this particular population after bottleneck. As a result, that allele is lost from that population. And in this particular group, and over time, you can see that this particular population which has escaped this particular natural calamity might evolve. So this is another figure that is representing bottleneck. So you had beetles with the ratio 5 is to 5, 5 red and 5 blue. And because of this, a natural calamity, or this also can be considered as a calamity here, we are killing 4 blue. That means the ratio now is 5 is to 1. And you can see that because the blue is now represented in a very small number, this particular population, after this bottlenecking, this particular population will have a new allelic frequency, which will be, because red is more, red will be represented in the next generation in very more number, and blue will be in this very small number from 5 is to 5. Because of this genetic drift happening, this allelic, or this the gene frequency from 5 is to 5 has changed to 10 is to 2. So this is what is called as bottleneck. So bottleneck is genetic drift due to a natural cause. So the bottleneck is an extreme example of a genetic drift that happens when the size of the population is severely reduced. So events like natural disasters, then individuals which are leaving behind, etc., a small or a random assortment of survivor. That's why I said all the individuals which were inside the population is no more. The only thing left in the bottle is this small. Okay, all the others are being vanished in the bottle. After that bottlenecking or genetic drift, only very small number of individuals are remaining in the population. Okay, so this is what is called as bottleneck. So after bottleneck, only very small individuals will be present in that particular population. All others will be vanished. And the other generation, or in the next generation, will be represented by those surviving individuals. So the allele frequency in this group may be very different from those of the population prior to the event. Some alleles may be lost entirely, as the case with the red bead which was inside the bottle. After that particular natural calamity, that particular red is completely lost. So the smaller population, in the same case, will be more susceptible to the effect of genetic drift for generations until its number return to normal, potentially causing even more alleles to be lost. If the population is smaller and uh, it is subjected to a genetic drift, there are chances that more alleles could be lost due to this particular event. The next one is the founder effect. So, founder effect, or the difference between founder effect and genetic drift, is that uh, in bottleneck, sorry, founder effect and bottleneck is that bottleneck, we said that after bottleneck phenomenon, or after bottleneck effect, only small individual or a small group from the parent population is surviving. All the others are eliminated because of that natural calamity, because that is due to a natural calamity. But in this, you can see that founder effect is due to migration of individuals from a parent population to a new land or an unoccupied area. So, for the first case of bottleneck was due to a calamity, and because of that calamity, the mother population is now represented only by a very few individuals, or a parent population is after bottlenecking will be represented only by a very few individuals. But when you come to uh, founder effect, this is due to migration of individuals from the parent population to another unoccupied area. As a result, even after this genetic drift event or even after this founder effect, you can see both the population. Okay, you can see the parent population and a new population in a new area with a new gene frequency. Okay, the gene frequency of the parent population and the new population which is in the new land will be entirely different. That is why you call it as a genetic drift. Okay, so the difference with the bottleneck is that in uh, in this particular phenomenon which is founder effect, you can see both the parent population as well as the founder population at the same time. But that is not possible in the case with bottleneck, because after bottlenecking only very small individuals are surviving from the parent population. So here, as we said, this is also a genetic drift in the sense that after this migration, or after the individuals have migrated from one place to the other and to a new land, the gene frequencies which is produced by the population in the new land will be different from that of the parent population. That is what we are going to see here. So here you can see, so this was the parent population or the mother population, and here you can see that here there is more yellow beads and less number. You can take this as 75 percentage and the purple ones as 25 percentage. And now, because of founder effect, because of some pressure or because of whatever it is, some individuals, because of lack of space, etc., lack of food, etc., this a group is now migrating. So in that group, you can see that majority, 90 percentage of the individuals are yellow and only one purple. So now this is a new population, and when this new population give rise to more and more individuals, you can see that after even 5 generations, you can see that the yellow will be represented by above 90 percentage, and this will be still smaller. So if this is now this is 95 percentage, and the other after 5 generation also this will be something around the 90 percentage, etc., and this will be something around 5 percentage or 7 percentage or 8 percentage. So never to be similar to the parent population. Uh, uh, the population that is generated from the founder, that means this new population to have a similar gene frequency to this mother population, it should go or it should have something around many rounds of generations to reach this particular one. So this particular effect is usually termed as founder effect, where there is a change in gene frequency when compared to the parent population. The same here. So here you can see that the ones which is migrated to the new land is only red color. As a result, the population which is produced from this particular one will be completely red, which is entirely different from the parent one. Same here. Here also, the parent population is represented by three phenotypes, but those migrated were only of two phenotypes. As a result, the new population will not have this particular allele. The white allele will be absent in this particular population. So this change in gene frequency, this is due to migration, not due to a calamity or a natural disaster, etc. This is because of migration. The change in gene frequency because of migration is called as founder effect. Okay, so effect is an extreme example of drift, one that occurs when a small group of individuals break off from the large population to establish a new colony. So this will be isolated from the original population, and the founding individuals may not represent the full diversity of the original population. That's why we saw here this new population is not representing the diversity of this, because here there were more diverse. Three types of individuals was present, but here you can see only two types of individuals. So the alleles of the founding population may be present at different frequencies from the original one. You can see here this is entirely different, because when you compare here, you can see that this black is represented here 60 percentage, and this can be taken as a 40, or you can take this as a 30 percentage. This is 60 or 70 percentage, and this is 30 percentage. But the thing is different here. Here, almost every color is of the same number. So here, black, because the black individuals are more here. The black here, if every individual represented in the same number, it will be around the 33 or 34 percentage. But here you can see that black is represented by 60 and or 60 or 70, and this orange is represented by the remaining 30, and white is absent. So that's why we say here that the allele of in the founding population may be present at a different frequency than that of the original population, and some alleles may be missing altogether. So the founder effect is similar to the concept of bottlenecking, but it occurs via a different mechanism, by colonization. So it is given here colonization rather than due to a catastrophe. So these are the two different types of genetic drift, which is bottleneck as well as the founder effect. So this is a small video which shows all these phenomena. That is both your genetic drift, then bottleneck as well as founder effect.
In this tutorial, we will talk about several topics in evolution. The founder effect.
So first one is the founder effect.
Bottlenecking.
Bottlenecking.
And genetic drift. Our story begins with a small island and a small group of 7 people, 43% of which have...
So the difference in these individuals, the difference in individuals is that you can see in this particular population in a particular island, you can see the individuals with black hair, you can see individuals with brown hair, and the individuals who are bald, who do not have a hair. So this is the population where you can see three different types of people. We are now going to observe only their hair color pattern. One is having black hair, the other one is having brown, and the other one does not have a hair, which are bald.
An unattractive condition that causes them to be bald. Here is a section of the mainland population. The percentage of bald people is much lower, only about 10%.
Or this is a parent population where many individuals are, very few individuals are bald, many are having black hairs, many are having brown hairs, etc. And the bald individuals are represented by a very small number compared to the other one.
The small population of humans.
Okay, so now what happens is that a particular group of individuals, because there is a population rise, there is no space to live in that particular population. Some individuals, you can see that this is represented by two bald individuals, some seven black haired individuals, and one brown hair individuals. All together, they are moving to a new island.
Arrive on the secluded island far away from any mainland.
So they reach
Keep in mind that this group of people is a very inaccurate representation of the percentage of people in the normal population with this hairless condition.
Okay, so this is what you are seeing is what is called as a founder effect, because a group of individuals, because of lack of space or whatever it is, they are migrating from the parent population to another island, and they are populating there. And when they are populating there, you can see that the brown hair was represented by a very small number, only one individual, baldness by two, and the other black haired by 5 or 6 individuals. As a result, when you compare it with the parent population, these bald individuals were very negligible, only three. If you take 70 or 100 individuals, only three was bald. And in this particular population, baldness, or the feature which is called as baldness, will increase because when a group of people came, about 10 or 20 or 30 percentage of the individuals were having baldness, 50 were having, or 50 or the 60 percentage of the individuals were having black hairs, and only 10 percentage was with brown hair. As a result, in this particular population, if you
Small
see,
group of
that is a change in the gene frequency that you see here. That is, there is an increase in the number of baldness in this particular
founders
population. We can
arrives on
see
the
this
island and
particular
begin to get
population
to
here.
know one another. The small amount of
So
humans
see this, you can see here, the number of bald individuals are increasing when you compare it with the normal other population.
procreate and procreate and procreate until their population grows to a number supported by the conditions on the island. As procreation continues, notice the increasingly high number of bald people.
Okay, so there is a proportionate increase in number in baldness, black hair,
survey of
etc.
the population,
So now you can see this. This is a new population. The reverse happened. In this new population, the number of bald individuals are increasing here. You can see here the number of brown is very low. The number of black is also very low in that
much
particular
higher
population.
percentage of bald people on the
So
island.
now there's a change when you compare the older parent population and the new population. There is a vast change in gene frequency, and this is called as founder effect.
This is a result of the founder effect. Because the founders of the island had a much higher percentage of people with the genetic condition, and therefore their descendants do too. Suddenly, a natural disaster comes and wipes out all
in
of the
that particular island, that the new island, a catastrophe is happening. You can see that a flooding, or you can see that a tsunami, etc.,
population,
is happening.
except for a few survivors.
Okay, the natural calamity happens to that particular population.
As the rubble is washed away and life begins
And
to
most
flourish
of
on the
the
island once
individuals are
again,
gone.
the survivors begin to rebuild their population, with an even higher percentage of bald people than before. This is a result of bottlenecking.
Okay, in that population, only one black-haired and the other two were brown-haired population. And in this particular population, you can see that there will be a very great increase in number.
The survivors' genetics are passed on to their descendants, who represent an even higher percentage of the bald people than before the disaster.
Okay, so this is what. So the genetics of a population reflect those of the initial members. That is that happens in a founder effect. That means the people who are coming to that particular new island, what is the new population, the frequency of the new population will depend on those founders who come to that new land. But in bottlenecking, a portion of the population is randomly eliminated, resulting in a population that reflects the genetics of the survivors. In bottleneck, the gene frequency depends on survivors, but in founder effect, the genetics depends on the individuals who are landing onto the, or the individuals who are migrating. So one is because of migration, the other one is because of this a natural calamity.
At this point, we have a smallish population inhabiting our fictional island. Due to the absence of natural disasters, the
now in this population you can see that the bald individuals.
However, the factor
are
of randomness has yet to be examined.
Okay,
as
and
chance will
the bald
happen,
individuals
gradually
they are
more and
migrating
more
to a
people
new
with
land. So
survive
migration or
and
gene flow,
subsequently
etc.,
reproduce on
is
the
also
island.
happening. And you
Especially
can see
due to the
that
small
the
population,
individuals with
the
hairs,
allele frequencies
black hair,
gradually
brown
change
hair,
over time,
they are coming
resulting
in.
in a
They are
drift of
migrating
phenotypes
into
from
this
bald
particular
to hairy.
group. Okay, the random drift between the phenotype that occur in population is called as genetic drift. So these are the three things that we discussed in this particular session, which is genetic drift, bottleneck, as well as founder effect.